What is good, creative? Cynthia again from Ceasar Graphics. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my weekly design review. All right, I have designs I'm going to be critiquing today, and I'm going to be sharing what is working on the design and what is not working on the design. I'm sure you're going to enjoy this video, so sit back, relax, and keep watching. All right, so I have designs I'm going to be critiquing already, but before I get to the critiquing of the design, I want every one of you to know that part of how we achieve successful design is when we don't see the arranging of the elements as just putting elements on the screen. All right, you see it as the way things appear to us in real life. All right, and part of what's always make design look successful to us and our audience is when we make the placing of the elements balanced. When the color you use on the project is balanced, the layout is balanced, the use of fonts is not too much, and you're able to use fonts that people can easily see the text. People can easily read the text on the project. Those are the things you need to watch out for when working on design projects. There are still more things to watch out for, but because of time, I'm not going to go into that now. So let's go straight to the designs that I received from the designers. So this is the first design I'm going to critique today. The layout here is boring. And for those of you that are used to my videos on critiquing of design, I'm sure you can easily spot what I'm going to say on this project. All right. Now, why this is boring is because the designer did not pay attention to the elements used on the project. All right. I want every one of you to know that the elements, the content on the illustration you are using on your project is also part of the project. So whenever you notice there's anything you have on the illustration that is not necessary, that is not added to the message, please delete it, take it out. That's one. Then number two is part of what draws people's attention to want to buy anything or get involved in checking out the information on every design is when there's something that draws their attention to the project. All right, if you don't achieve that part of creating what's going to draw their attention, which is the contrast, the purpose, the goal that that project's supposed to achieve is not going to work. All right. Now I'm saying this here because of the way this designer combined everything that this brand is into on the project. You know, I always say this to you guys that one of the items that the brand is selling is enough to draw people's attention to the project if you place it well on the project. The fact that the client or the organization gives you different items that they sell does not mean you should now pack everything and place it on the project. You know, we're in a world where people are bombarded with different activities. You know, they go out, they go to the market, they see a lot of people, they watch the evening news, they see different activity on the TV screen. You know, they go to work, they have plenty files on their table. You now creating project that is loaded with too much content is part of how you are adding more to their problem. But when they see you create something simple, it makes them stop and want to read the information on the project. What I'm going to say to this person here is this project here is not successful at all. What you can do to help the success of this project is to pick one of the items, make it big, and then place the information on the project. And I noticed the use of information that are not really necessary on the project here, because I can see Spotify here. I can also see Spotify logo here. I'm wondering why we have Spotify on the project. See, your job is not to create an impression that you are trying to make people know that, yes, you did something. No, your job is to promote what the client is selling. No. So if your focus is on the client, you will avoid the use of using too many content on the project. Now, when I say your focus is on the client, because I know some people take this the other way now. I'm not saying that you should now start loading the design because the client say, okay, I want to have everything I'm selling on the design. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is focus on how you can help the client. So even if the client is saying, okay, add everything to the project, your job as a creative is to educate the client and tell the client, see, loading everything, loading the design with everything you do is not going to sell. It's not going to draw attention because too much content, too much everything is not always nice. It's like when you buy a sachet of salt and then you now pour the whole sachet of salt in your small rice. You know you're going to destroy the taste. And that's the same thing that happened here. Don't put everything that the brand is into. All right. So yeah. So I'm going to advise this person to go and check my other design review video to learn more on what to do here. All right. So I'll go straight to the next design. Every successful design have contrast. There's hierarchy. All right. And then there's proximity. Now, the proximity is what helps the hierarchy to energize the contrast. But when there's no proximity on the project, it's going to, in fact, contrast will get lost. All right. You're not going to see contrast at all. All right. Hierarchy is going to get lost. Hierarchy and contrasts are going to get lost because the proximity is what energizes, is what gives them the power to work. But when you don't allow that on your project, bam, you're going to destroy the project. And I'm saying this here because there's no space on this project. And let me add this to the hierarchy, contrast, and proximity part. White space is the mother to these three things I said. When there's no room for white space, your project is not going to give back to contrast, hierarchy, and proximity. So you need to allow room for white space so that your proximity can work well, and then your hierarchy can now say, hey, contrast, come on, let's do this. And when you don't allow that on your project, now this proximity thing is when you group the information on your project, when you make them have their own separate group. All right. Now, the hierarchy part is the controlling of the eye movement. Like, okay, you said, guys or audience, this is the first thing I want you guys to see. When after seeing this, then look at this. Then after this, then you look at the last information that you want them to look at on the project. Then the other thing I want to say to this designer is, you see, color. All right. There's also the hierarchy part of using color. Part of how you make the hierarchy part of using color come to play on your project is, all right, you combine primary color with secondary color. Then another way you do it is the controlling of the value of a color. That's if you are trying to use the monochrome color harmony on your project. There's this part of also using the saturation of the color to control the eye movement on your project. But when you load the design with too much of primary colors, it's going to destroy the project, and that's what you did here. All right, that's what you did here, and it makes now listen. There are times when you need to use the primary color on the project. All right, because I don't believe there's any rule in graphic design, but there are rules. But what makes the design successful, what makes it look interesting, is when you break the rule. Now, the breaking of the rule now comes to play when you understand what you are doing. You understand the message. All right. Most time when we creatives use the primary color on our design project is when the project is for kids, like little children. That's when we use the primary color on the project. Even if you're going to use the primary color on the project for kids, there's a part of controlling the eye movement with the use of the color. You don't just use oversaturated colors all through the project. It's going to destroy the project. All right. So That's for that. Then the other thing I noticed this designer did not do well here is the aligning of your information. All right. There's the part of, aligning your, giving your arranging of elements a good layout. All right. Avoid too much of flushing left, right, center on your project. No, it's going to destroy your layout. Every design element should be arranged the way architects design buildings, where they make sure that everything is balanced. If an architect did not make the layouts or the blueprint of a building balance, it will show when they build the house, and this can make the house to collapse. And that's the same thing that applies to when you don't use good layout on your project. All right, so I'm going to stop here on this. Okay, and I'm also going to advise this designer to go and check my other design review video. Just pick any design review video. I'm sure if you watch like 2, 3, or 4 videos, I believe it will activate something inside of you, because I've been getting lots of testimonials from subscribers who have been watching my videos on YouTube, and they've been, telling me how they've improved by just watching those videos. So I believe if you do the same thing, it will help you. All right, so let's go straight to our last design for today. All right, so here I noticed that part of not allowing proximity to work. The contrast here is beautiful. We have this text here calling for attention, but the part of grouping the elements is not working. All right, it's not working because everything is too close. All right, there's no space. And I want to show you guys the power of white space here and also proximity on your design project. Then the other thing that I noticed that is not really necessary here is this, this glass cup here. It's not necessary. This alone is enough to make the project, look successful. This is not necessary. So I'm going to quickly do something here now. I'm going to use this element. I'm going to use the content on this design to rearrange this to make this look okay, so as to make you guys understand my point on making proximity help your contrast to work well. All right, and to be able to control the eye movement on that design. But I'm going to be taking out some things that I noticed that are not really necessary, because, designers, I don't know why we always have this mindset of wanting to make people feel, yeah, I don't want them to know that I didn't do too much. No. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be very fast with this. I'm going to first off make a copy of this, and I'm going to take out the things that I notice that are not really necessary. There's something I want to do here. Okay. Sorry, we need to move this back a bit. Okay, like that. Oh man, it's affecting this. Okay, let's just move this like that and move this in, and good. So now let's see the before and after. So this is the after and this is the before. Now you see the difference. You see how everything is looking simple here, and see how everything is shouting here. So you see the power of proximity now. You see why you need proximity on your project. So I'm going to stop here on the critiquing of the design. So if you have questions, you can ask. Okay, so our first question is coming from Taiwo Farouk. And Farouk, you're free to ask your question.
All right, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything. I really appreciate the class. It's really insightful. Thank you so much, sir.
You're
So
welcome.
my question is that, from the beginning of the, when I started watching the video, you are saying something that we should do something that will grab the, when you are using the other design to illustrate for us, that we should use that there should be an element that will grab the attention of the audience,
Yeah.
And when I now see the one you design, hey, yes, this one. So when you compare the second one you did now, the before and the after, and I was asking myself, like, is the before not looking as if it's grabbing the attention of the audience? How can we differentiate shouting from grabbing attention of audience? So
Okay,
because I'm
beautiful.
thinking the glass at the hair, yes. So that's my
Okay.
question, sir. Thank you so
All right.
much.
You're welcome. All right. So first I'll start by saying, you see, one of the reasons why we creatives, one of the things that always limits our creativity as designers is when we don't really understand the principle of design. And it makes us go online to start searching for designs that we feel is okay because there's something that looks unique on the design. The fact that I have a glass cup on my design with a light effect on it does not mean that will make the design successful. There should be room for your content to breathe. And every design, there should be room for the content to breathe. And this room that I'm talking about is white space. Because when everything is too close to each other on your design, it's going to make the project too heavy. It's going to make it will make the space too tight for the element to breathe. It's not different from the way you see people in a room and there's no room for them to breathe. I'm sure somebody will surely collapse among the people in that room. And that's the same thing that happens whenever you don't allow room for your content to breathe in design. All right. So you don't say because you notice there's an element on the design that carry a special effect, and then you now feel okay, that thing is part of what helped the project. No. If the element on the design that carry the special effect is not adding to the message, it's taking away from the message. And most brands, all right, that pay designer well, these are the things they check before they employ you. The reason why that the before looks better to you now is because there's no the making of the illustration visible is not really clear there. If I have the editable file, I'll make this more visible than what I have here. Okay, let me see if I can just quickly pull something from the internet. All right, so I'm going to drag this and drop here.
All right.
I'm going to drag this and drop here like that. Now watch this. If I make this visible, all right, and I push the contents a bit to this side here, all right, like that, and I make this. So now if I compare the two now, you'll notice that this is looking more better than the before. Now let's see the before and after now. So this is the after and this is the before. What do you think about the before and after now?
Okay, this one you just did now. I think it's not better. I think it's better than the first one. Actually,
one of the things that is going to affect the success of this again is all this stuff I put here. Why? Because I'm not using the exact image. If I have the editable file, I'm not going to blur this. All right, I'm not going to blur this. I'm going to leave it the way we have this. But because I don't have the editable file, that's the reason why I made the blurring it happen. All right. So our next question is coming from Johnson Olajuwon. So Johnson, your floor is open for you. You can ask your question, please.
Okay. I really want to appreciate you for giving us insight on designs and the principle, helping us to understand our errors and some things that we need to put in place
You're
for
welcome.
the while working on that.
You're welcome.
Okay, my question basically is pertaining this particular design, is it on every design that we need to put out illustration, like there should be an illustration on that design, or is it that sometimes if the information are too much, then we can work on the design without illustration, or illustration comes in based on either the maybe the information are not too much, probably just the theme and maybe the headline and the date and the venue.
Okay. So Johnson. Okay, so that's a good question you ask. Okay. You see, if I tell you not to always use illustration, I'm going to deceive you. All right. Now, illustration is very key in design. And why we use illustration is not because we want to be like every other person. No, we use illustration because we're in a world where people want to be entertained. Okay. And we need to entertain them. And another reason why we use illustration is because we want people to quickly get the message fast. Because the use of illustration is what help with making people get or understand the message. It's another way of drawing people's attention to look at the design. But there are times when you don't need pictures to create that illustration. There are times when you use type to use it, to create the illustration. In fact, for me, I prefer using type to create my illustration than using pictures, because people are already used to seeing pictures, images. But when they see type form a particular look or a particular icon, it makes them stop and want to look at the project. In fact, some people will even stop because they just like the fact that that type is that type formed what they are not really expecting. And the not expecting part is what draw people's attention to look at your project. Okay, so if I'm going to advise that, please never do any design without the use of illustration. The designs you do without the use of illustrations should be like wedding invitation, complimentary cards, and yeah. But if you are doing a poster, if you are designing a poster, you need illustration. I know in the 1860s, they don't really use illustration. They do more of type. But we're in a world where people enjoy being entertained. So illustration is very key. All right? Yeah. So I hope you are satisfied with my answer to that question.
Yes, I am. Sorry. So, in addition to that, like if you're doing a professional, like you're doing a professional social media flyer, the use of illustration is it really important also? Maybe for a real estate agency or something.
For real estate design, all right, you need illustration for real estate design. Why you need illustration for real estate design is because you need to make people want to buy what the real estate is trying to sell. Okay, for somebody like me now, if any real estate should come to me now and say, okay, we have this plot of land that we want you to buy, and they just use texts on it, I'm not going to trust them. I won't even look at it. But when I see the look of the land, or I see an illustration of somebody with the expression of that someone will carry that surprise look, it makes me want to stop and say, okay, let me give these people a try. But when there's nothing, all right, when there's nothing creating that impression, that's making people, creating that impression of making you feel, is this true? You know, it's not the artwork won't sell. There should be something that will make people want to get involved. Text is not enough to make people want to get involved, except if the text or the type, like what I said previously, form of look different from what people are used to. So, Juan, I hope you are satisfied with my answer. Please, I need your voice to say something if you get my point.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very, very much. Thank you very, very much.
Yeah, right. You're welcome. All right. I'm glad you made it to the end of this tutorial. If you have not subscribed, remember to hit the subscribe button and remember to click the post notification bell so you get notified when I post tutorials like this on my channel. Share this video with other creatives. Hit the thumbs up button if you like this video, and also remember to drop a comment. Let me know what you think about this video. All right. Thank you again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.